Ladies and gentlemen, there is a power within you greater than any obstacle in your path, a power so extraordinary, so untapped, that when awakened, it can transform your life beyond what you now believe possible. That power is belief. Belief is the unseen force that shapes destinies. It is not born from comfort. It is born in the fire of desire, the strength of persistence, and the courage to act when fear whispers, "You can't." Let me ask you, what would happen if you truly believed that anything was possible, not just hoped, not just wished, but believed, deep down, without hesitation, without a backup plan, without a single doubt? History is filled with ordinary men and women who achieved the extraordinary. They were not born with more talent than you. They did not have guarantees. What they had was vision, and more importantly, they had the belief that their vision was possible, long before the world saw any evidence of it. And belief, my friends, is not passive. It demands that you move. It demands that you act. It demands that you persist when the world tells you to quit. When you believe as if anything is possible, you begin to speak differently. You begin to think bigger. You begin to attract the people, the opportunities, and the circumstances needed to build what once seemed like a dream. But here's the truth. You will never rise above the level of your belief. You can only achieve what you believe you deserve. If you believe the impossible is possible for others but not for you, then you are writing your limits with your own hand. So how do you learn to believe? First, you decide that your life is worth the effort. Decide that you will no longer be ruled by fear disguised as practicality. Second, surround yourself with voices that lift your vision, not shrink it. Third, act even if you're uncertain. Belief grows strongest in motion. Every great success began with a thought, nurtured into belief and acted on with relentless determination. So whatever your dream is, hold it, guard it, feed it. Believe in it when no one else does. Believe in it when it hasn't yet shown a single sign of becoming real. Believe in it as if it is already done. Because the truth is, everything that is now real in this world was once imagined in someone's mind, by someone who chose to believe. You are that someone. Your dream is waiting for you to believe like it's already yours. So go, step boldly, learn to believe as if anything is possible, and watch how the world begins to move for you. Thank you. Everything you have ever accomplished in life, big or small, began with a single thought. That thought sparked a belief, and that belief became the force behind your actions. You may not have realized it at the time, but belief was quietly working behind the scenes, shaping your results, your behavior, and ultimately, your reality. Belief is the starting point of all achievement because it determines how far you will go before you even take the first step. Before a dream becomes a plan, before a plan becomes action, and before action produces results, belief must be in place. It is the invisible force that fuels your persistence when things get hard, that whispers keep going, when the world says give up. And that holds your vision steady when there's no proof that your efforts are working. Without belief, no amount of skill, strategy, or talent will carry you to success. What separates those who rise from those who remain stuck is not luck or background. It is the depth and clarity of belief. People who achieve the extraordinary are not immune to fear or doubt, but their belief is stronger than their excuses. They don't just hope things will work out. They believe that they must. That level of conviction changes how they show up. They work longer, they think bigger, they adapt faster. Their belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because it drives consistent action in the direction of their vision. But belief doesn't wait for the world to validate it. It begins in the quiet moments when no one is watching. It begins when you decide, deep down, that your dream is worthy of pursuit, even when others don't see it, especially when others don't see it. Because belief isn't about convincing others. It's about convincing yourself that what you want is possible, and more importantly, that it's possible for you. If you look closely at the story of any great achievement, you'll find this same invisible thread running through it. Every inventor, every artist, every entrepreneur, every leader, before they had results, they had belief. They believed when others doubted them. They believed when circumstances seemed impossible. They believed when they had no experience, no support, no evidence, only a vision. That vision, powered by belief, is what pulled them through failure, criticism, and the long stretches of uncertainty that cause most people to quit. The tragedy is that many people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they never really believed they could succeed in the first place. They go through the motions, but deep down, they're waiting for proof before they commit fully. But belief doesn't work like that. You can't wait for results to believe. You have to believe before the results show up. That's what separates the achievers from the dreamers. Belief changes how you interpret setbacks. When you believe, failure becomes feedback, not defeat. Obstacles become challenges, not roadblocks. You're more resilient, more creative, and more willing to do what's uncomfortable. Because you're not just chasing a possibility. You're pursuing a certainty you've already accepted in your mind. That internal certainty is what drives the kind of focus and intensity required to achieve anything meaningful. You don't have to be perfect to begin. You don't need all the answers or all the resources. What you need, first and above all, is belief. Belief that your life can be different. Belief that you are capable of more. Belief that your dream is not just a fantasy, but a future waiting to be built. And once you lock into that belief, your world begins to shift. Opportunities appear where there were none. People begin to respond differently to your energy. You start to carry yourself with more confidence. You begin to act with the kind of certainty that gets results, because belief isn't just a feeling. It's a decision, a choice to hold your vision in the face of uncertainty. A choice to show up every day not because you're guaranteed success, but because you've already accepted success as inevitable in your heart and mind. That is the foundation. That is where it all begins. Belief by itself is powerful, but its true strength is only revealed when it is matched with action. Many people carry dreams in their minds and feel a deep sense of potential within themselves, yet their lives remain unchanged. That's because belief without movement is incomplete. Real belief demands proof, and the only proof that counts is action. You can say you believe in something, but until you act on that belief, it's just a thought. A person who truly believes in their vision will take steps toward it, even if the path isn't clear and the outcome isn't guaranteed. They move forward not because success is certain, but because they are compelled by something inside them that refuses to sit still. That inner drive is belief transformed into motion. It's easy to get caught in the trap of overthinking, planning, researching, waiting for the right time, or trying to perfect every detail before making a move. But belief doesn't wait for conditions to be perfect. It pushes forward in spite of uncertainty. There is a point where preparation becomes procrastination dressed as caution. When belief is real, it overrides the need for every answer and replaces it with a readiness to begin, to adapt, to learn as you go. Taking action when you're unsure is uncomfortable. That's part of the process. But that discomfort is where growth happens. Every time you move forward despite fear, you reinforce your belief. You prove to yourself that you are capable, and every small action builds momentum. One step leads to another, and those steps, over time, begin to build something solid, something real. People often underestimate the power of consistent, imperfect action. They wait for a breakthrough or a moment of clarity. But belief doesn't usually show up in lightning bolts. It shows up in the daily decision to try, to put yourself out there, to keep showing up. You don't need to know how it will all unfold. You just need to take the next step. Clarity comes from movement, not from standing still. Action has a way of unlocking opportunities that would never appear if you remained frozen in thought. The world doesn't respond to your intentions. It responds to your effort. It's not about being fearless. It's about being willing willing to try, willing to fall and stand back up, willing to put faith into motion. Each time you do, you begin to embody the belief that once only lived in your mind. There's also something important that happens when you commit through action. The people around you begin to take notice. You start to attract support, collaboration, and resources that match your energy. People are drawn to movement. They trust what they can see. Your belief becomes contagious when it's visible, but it must be demonstrated, not explained. Think of all the ideas that never became reality because the person who had them was waiting for permission, waiting to feel ready, waiting until the fear disappeared. But belief that waits is belief that fades. You must be willing to act while the vision is still fresh, while the desire is still alive. Momentum doesn't build from standing still, it builds from movement. Even when results are slow, even when mistakes are made, action refines you. You learn more by doing than you ever could by thinking. Every effort teaches you something. Every setback strengthens your resilience. Every risk taken, even if it doesn't go as planned, is evidence that you are no longer just dreaming. You are building. That shift is everything. There is a certain power in simply beginning. You may not have confidence yet. You may not feel like you have all the skills, but action itself creates confidence. The more you move, the more you realize what you're capable of. You don't become ready first and then act. You act your way into readiness. So belief is not just something you feel. It's something you prove with your behavior. It's not just a mindset. It's a way of showing up in the world. If you want your life to change, your belief must move beyond words and into the realm of effort. Only then does it begin to shape your reality. Belief without action is a wish. Belief backed by action is a force. The results you see in your life, your achievements, your progress, your limitations, are deeply connected to what you believe about yourself. It is easy to look outward for reasons why things haven't worked out, circumstances, timing, or lack of resources. But underneath it all lies a much more powerful influence, your beliefs. What you believe about what is possible for you sets the ceiling on what you will even attempt, let alone accomplish. The truth is, you will never outperform your own identity. If at your core you believe you are average, you will settle for average. If you believe success is for others but not for you, you will unconsciously block the opportunities that would lead to it. Even when given a chance, you won't act fully, you won't commit, you'll second, guess yourself, sabotage your progress, or pull back just when momentum begins to build. That's not because you lack the ability, but because your belief system doesn't allow you to sustain action beyond what you think you deserve. Every action you take flows from a decision, and every decision is influenced by belief. If your internal dialogue says, "I'm not good enough," your choices will mirror that belief. You won't go after the job, you won't launch the business, you won't speak up, try again, or stretch into something new. And the worst part, you'll convince yourself it's because you weren't ready, when the truth is, you just didn't believe you were capable. That belief becomes the silent governor of your life. On the other hand, when you truly believe that you are capable, worthy, and deserving of more, you begin to make different choices. You challenge yourself more often. You take chances others shy away from. You step into roles you haven't played before, not because you've mastered them, but because you believe you can grow into them. That belief fuels courage, and that courage creates momentum. Your results begin to rise because your internal story no longer holds you back. This is not about arrogance. It's not about pretending to be something you're not. It's about refusing to live at a level lower than your potential. When you upgrade your belief system, you upgrade the lens through which you see opportunity. You no longer ask, "Can I do this?" You ask, "What would it take for me to do this?" That single shift changes everything. It moves you from passivity to possibility. The mind is powerful, and it always looks for ways to confirm what it already believes. If you see yourself as incapable, you will unconsciously seek out evidence to support that. You'll remember past failures, compare yourself to others, and exaggerate your flaws. But if you shift your belief, even slightly, you will start to notice different things. You'll spot small wins you would have ignored. You'll recognize progress instead of only perfection. You'll begin to interpret setbacks as part of the process instead of signs to stop. It's also important to understand that belief is not fixed. It can be developed, strengthened, and redefined. Many people think they're stuck with the mindset they've always had, but belief is a habit, and like any habit, it can be trained. You can start to speak to yourself differently. You can challenge old assumptions. You can intentionally surround yourself with ideas, people, and environments that expand what you see as possible. You may not feel fully confident today. That's okay. You don't need perfect confidence to start. What you need is a willingness to question the limits you've accepted for too long. Ask yourself, what if I've been wrong about what I'm capable of? What if more is available to me? Not later, but now. If I start believing differently? These questions open doors that self-doubt keeps shut. The world won't raise your limits for you. It will reflect them. The standards you set for yourself become the boundaries of your life. If you believe you're meant for more and you act on that belief, life begins to expand in response. But that expansion will never happen while you're clinging to the idea that your current level is your final one. You were not designed to live beneath your potential, but to rise, you must believe that you can. No strategy, no plan, no opportunity will matter if you don't first give yourself permission to grow beyond what you've known, because no one can outperform their belief, not for long, so the first shift must happen within. That's where all true growth begins. Who you spend your time with quietly shapes who you become. The conversations you engage in, the energy you absorb, and the perspectives that surround you all influence your thinking, often more than you realize. If you're trying to build something extraordinary, you cannot afford to be surrounded by voices that diminish your belief, limit your vision, or fuel your doubt. Every time you share an idea or a dream, the response you receive either fuels your momentum or weakens it. Some people will immediately look for what's wrong, why it won't work, or why it's too big for someone like you. Not because they're malicious, but because they're seeing through the filter of their own limitations. If you consistently expose yourself to that kind of feedback, it becomes harder and harder to hold on to belief. Over time, their doubts become your doubts. Their fears become your hesitation. Their limits become your ceiling. On the other hand, there are people whose very presence reminds you that more is possible. They don't just hear your ideas, they encourage them. They challenge you to think bigger, act bolder, and push further. They see the best in you and reflect it back when you forget. These voices don't guarantee your success, but they make the journey lighter, stronger, and far more resilient. They don't allow you to shrink to stay comfortable. They expect you to rise. The people you surround yourself with set the tone for your expectations. If you're constantly around those who complain, blame, and play small, that mindset becomes familiar. It begins to feel normal. But if you step into an environment where growth, ambition, and persistence are the baseline, you'll start to operate at that level too. Not because you've changed who you are, but because the standards around you have changed what you see as possible. Energy is contagious. Just as negativity can pull you down, belief and encouragement can lift you up. You can feel the difference immediately. Think about how you feel after spending time with certain people. Do you leave feeling inspired or drained? Motivated or discouraged? Certain people multiply your energy, while others quietly steal it. You must be intentional about which kind of influence you allow to stay close. This doesn't mean cutting people off at the first sign of skepticism. It means being aware. It means choosing wisely when it comes to sharing your goals and dreams. Not everyone deserves access to the most fragile and valuable parts of your vision. Protect it. Share it with people who have earned the right to hear it, those who want to see you win and are willing to support you without needing to understand every detail. It also means seeking out new environments when your current one no longer supports your growth. Sometimes the people around you are simply not moving in the same direction. That's not a judgment, it's a reality. Growth requires change, and change often means discomfort. You may have to leave familiar circles and step into new ones where your aspirations are not considered strange, but standard, where success is not envied, but expected, where belief is not rare, but routine. Books, podcasts, mentors, groups, these are all ways to surround yourself with better voices, even if your immediate environment hasn't caught up yet. You don't have to wait to be around the right people physically. You can begin shifting your mental environment today. Start feeding your mind with voices that stretch you, challenge you, and remind you that your dream is not only valid, but urgent. You are not meant to walk your journey alone. Yes, belief starts within, but staying on the path, especially when it gets hard, is much easier when you're supported by those who understand what you're building, and who refuse to let you give up on it. Their belief in you can be the spark you need to keep going when your own belief starts to flicker. At every stage of growth, the quality of your environment matters, not just in terms of physical surroundings, but in the voices that influence your daily mindset. You must guard your vision like it matters, because it does. Surround yourself with people who water your dreams, not those who slowly drain them with doubt disguised as realism. When you elevate the company you keep, you elevate the expectations you live by. And when those expectations align with your highest vision, you begin to move differently, you speak differently, you show up differently, your belief strengthens, your courage grows, and what once seemed impossible starts to feel inevitable. Doubt is subtle. It rarely announces itself loudly. Instead, it seeps in quietly, disguising itself as logic, caution, or even humility. It whispers things like maybe later, who do you think you are, or what if you fail? These thoughts don't feel aggressive. They feel responsible, sensible, safe, but underneath the surface, they serve one purpose, to stop you from moving forward. Every person who has ever achieved something meaningful has encountered doubt. It's part of the process, but those who move forward in spite of it are the ones who separate themselves from the rest. Doubt doesn't need to be completely eliminated for progress to happen. It just needs to be refused the authority to lead. Progress is built on momentum, and doubt is designed to break it. It creates hesitation, and hesitation interrupts flow. It causes you to second, guess your decisions, delay your actions, and talk yourself out of taking chances. Over time, that hesitation compounds. It steals days, then weeks, then years, not through major failures, but through quiet inaction, through convincing you that maybe you're not ready or maybe it's not the right time. The danger of doubt is that it doesn't just affect your actions. It shapes your identity. The more you listen to it, the more you begin to see yourself as someone who doesn't follow through, someone who needs more time, someone who waits for permission. And once that identity sets in, it becomes even harder to break out of. You start to believe the story that doubt told you, and that belief becomes a barrier you carry with you into every new opportunity. The frustrating part is that doubt often sounds reasonable. It speaks with the voice of experience, referencing your past missteps and current limitations. It rarely shouts, but it is persistent, and because it often reflects your own voice, it can feel like truth. But doubt is not a reliable narrator. It's a filter based on fear, not fact, a filter that sees only the risks and never the reward. If you listen to doubt long enough, you start lowering your goals to match your fear. You stop stretching, you stop dreaming, you start editing yourself before the world even has a chance to see you. Progress becomes difficult not because you lack ability, but because you've handed control to a voice that was never meant to lead your life. The key is to recognize doubt for what it is, a defense mechanism. It exists to keep you safe, but safe and stuck often look very similar. You're not here to stay safe. You're here to grow, and growth always involves risk. The moment you understand that doubt is a signal, not a stop sign, you take back your power. You stop waiting to feel completely ready. You stop waiting for silence in your mind, and you start acting, even with the noise in the background. One of the most powerful things you can do is move while doubting, not recklessly, but intentionally. When you take action despite the voice of doubt, you weaken its hold. You prove to yourself that doubt is not in control. Each time you do that, you get stronger. Your confidence doesn't come first. It comes from doing the thing you were afraid to do. It also helps to shift your focus. Doubt loves to keep your attention on what could go wrong. It rarely considers what could go right, so train your mind to ask better questions. Instead of "what if I fail?" ask "what if this works?" Instead of "what if they judge me?" ask "what if I inspire someone?" These small shifts change your emotional state, and that change fuels forward motion. You will never be completely free of doubt, and you don't need to be. You simply need to stop giving it control. Progress belongs to those who move anyway, who feel uncertain but keep going, who know that waiting for certainty is a trap, and that clarity comes from movement. In the end, the real danger is not in failing. It's in holding back, in silencing your voice, in living beneath your potential because you gave more weight to fear than to faith. Doubt may always be present, but it doesn't get to decide the outcome unless you let it. You are not required to be fearless. You are required to be faithful to your vision, to your effort, to the future you want to create. Doubt may knock on the door, but it's up to you whether it gets invited in. Everything you see around you, every invention, every movement, every structure, every success story, started as an idea in someone's mind. Before it took shape in the physical world, it existed in the invisible world of thought. That is the true starting point of reality. Imagination gives something form, belief gives it life. Together, they are the blueprint for anything worth building. The mind is the birthplace of all transformation. You cannot create a new reality until you first see it within. You must imagine it in vivid detail, feel it, explore it, and believe it to be possible before you ever take the first step toward it. This is not wishful thinking. It is the inner process of designing the life you want to live. If you cannot picture it, you will not pursue it. If you do not believe it, you will not stay the course when challenges appear. The greatest tragedy for many is not that they fail, but that they never allow themselves to fully imagine what they are capable of. They stay trapped inside the boundaries of what they've already seen, done, or been told is reasonable. But reason alone never creates breakthroughs. Reason is often shaped by the past. Imagination reaches forward, pulling something new out of what never was before. That's where every advancement begins, in someone's willingness to imagine what others couldn't see yet. Children are naturally imaginative. They dream without limits. They speak their visions out loud. They believe without proof. Somewhere along the way, many people begin to trade imagination for caution. They are taught to be realistic, to keep their expectations small, to avoid disappointment by not reaching too far. But playing it safe rarely brings deep fulfillment. It only preserves what already exists, and what already exists may not be enough. To create a life that excites you, you have to allow yourself to dream again. You have to close your eyes and ask, what do I truly want? And not just what do I think I can get. You have to silence the voice of doubt long enough to hear the whisper of desire. That whisper is where the vision begins. And once you have that vision, the next step is to believe it matters, to believe you are worthy of it, to believe you are capable of creating it, even if you don't yet know how. Belief is the bridge between the unseen and the seen. Imagination paints the picture, belief picks up the brush. When you believe in your vision, you begin to make decisions that align with it. You speak differently, carry yourself with more certainty, and take actions you otherwise wouldn't. You begin to walk as though your vision is already real, and in doing so, you create space for it to come to life. There is no external change without internal transformation first. Many people try to shift their circumstances without ever shifting their self-image, but your outer world will always reflect your inner world. If you believe you're stuck, you'll find reasons to stay stuck. If you believe something new is possible, you'll start to see options that didn't exist before, or that were always there but hidden from view. That's the power of belief. It sharpens your perception. It makes you more resourceful, more alert, more resilient. You'll notice the person who can help. You'll catch the idea worth testing. You'll recognize the door slightly open and have the courage to walk through it. Not because the world changed, but because you did. And once your belief is strong enough, the world begins to respond. This is how every meaningful achievement begins, not with certainty, but with a vision. Not with guarantees, but with belief. The skyscraper, the novel, the business, the movement, they all began in someone's mind. Someone who dared to imagine something better and then believed in that vision enough to act on it, nurture it, and fight for it. That power exists in you as well. You may not see the full path yet. You may not know every step, but you do not need the entire map to begin. You only need the courage to believe in your vision enough to take the first step. The more clearly you see it in your mind, the more naturally it begins to form around you. So don't shrink your imagination to fit your current circumstances. Expand your belief to match your deepest desires. Your reality will rise to meet the level of your vision when you have the faith to believe it's possible and the discipline to act like it already is. That's how you turn the invisible into the inevitable. Would you like all 6 expanded points compiled into a single document or formatted in a specific way? Everything begins in the mind. Every goal, every transformation, every breakthrough starts with a single decision to believe that more is possible. That belief, when it is sincere and backed by purpose, becomes the foundation for every meaningful action you take. It shapes how you see the world, how you respond to challenges, and how far you're willing to go when things don't go as planned. But belief alone is not enough. It must be followed by deliberate, consistent action. Progress is built not by wishing, but by doing. It is the daily effort, the persistence through failure, and the quiet discipline behind the scenes that turns belief into results. The life you want isn't built in a moment of inspiration. It's built in the moments after, when you choose to act even without certainty. To truly rise, your belief must match your ambition. You cannot outperform a low opinion of yourself. You cannot expect greatness while thinking small. The level of success you achieve will never exceed the level of belief you hold. And if that belief is constantly under attack by the voices around you, your progress will be limited. That's why your environment matters. Choose to surround yourself with those who elevate your thinking, support your goals, and challenge you to become more. Doubt will always be part of the journey, but it is not your guide. Your imagination and belief are the tools that will carve a path forward. Everything you want already exists as a possibility. Your job is to see it, believe it, and move toward it, even when no one else understands it yet. Because once you believe as if anything is possible, it starts to become true.